Hello, folks. Another day, another problem. So, the problem for today is maximum non-negative subarray. Here is the problem description. Please read through the description once and then let's go on to understand what the problem is asking. Okay, so here we have an array over which you know, we have to figure out a subarray which has the maximum sum, which has the maximum length and occurs at the last occurring subarray with the maximum length and the maximum sum. This is what we have to find. So for this example, this subarray 2, 3, 4 is our answer because the sum of this positive subarray is, yeah, in the question they have also mentioned that the subarray should only contain positive numbers. So in some way negative numbers are sort of a divider in these arrays. So the whole array can be divided into chunks of subarrays of positive numbers, and the negative numbers just act as a divider between them. So in this case, the sum of this subarray is 6. Here we have the sum is 9, and here the sum is 4. So obviously this is the answer. So let's take another example. For this example, yep. Same thing goes on. Here we have a subarray of sum 4. Here the sum is 1. But here the sum is again 4. But this subarray is longer, so this is the answer. And we have another subarray which is the longest, but the sum is 3. So we have to choose this subarray with the maximum sum. So this is our answer. Let's take another example. Yes, this one is interesting. Yeah, this one is interesting because here we have subarrays with some 1, some 4, some is 4 here again, but here we have another subarray with some 4. So as we know that the longest one with the maximum sum is the answer, so this is the answer. So what they've asked in the question is subarray with the maximum sum. If there is a tie in the sum, the one with the maximum length, so there is a tie between these two subarrays. So this, until this point, this is our answer. But now when we iterate through the array and we come across this subarray, so this becomes our answer. So finally in the whole array, this would be our answer, this subarray. If again a tie, then the subarray that occurs last. Suppose there were more numbers here in the subarray, but with the same length, say 4 numbers, like say we had 1, 1, 1 and 1 after that. So this would be our answer because there is literally no difference between this and this subarray, but since it occurs later on in the array, so this would be our answer.
Good morning, sunshine.
Okay, so the first part of the problem would be to figure out a way, an easier, simpler method through which we calculate the maximum sum at a certain given index I. Suppose we are at this certain index. So at this point, we should have all the information about the maximum possible sum that we encountered so far of all the subarrays with positive numbers. So the way we are going to do that is we will have a variable sum and we will have a variable maxsum. So as soon as we come across any number which is positive, we will simply do sum is equals to sum plus a of I. And if we come across a negative number, we will simply say sum is equals to 0. So what sum is? Sum is actually at a certain index for if we are at any possible subarray, the sum at a certain point would indicate the total sum of that subarray. Like at this point the sum would be 4,
I love
we
you.
come here the sum would be 4, but here the sum would be 2. So it is just a current sum of whatever subarray we are iterating through, right? This is whatever sum would be. If the number a of I is positive, a of I is positive, then we do this. If a of I is negative, then we do sum is equals to 0. And for every positive occurrence of a of I, we also do max sum is equals to max of sum and itself max sum. So this is how we will calculate the max sum at every positive number. So if we iterate through the whole array once, so if we calculate the sum and the max sum for every index, so I have just written down the given values. So at 1 we have the sum as 1 and the maximum sum also becomes 1. At the second index the sum becomes 0 because it's a negative number, and at the third index the sum becomes 4 and the maximum sum is 4, and so on. You can see at this point, at the last point, this again the sum becomes 0 but the maximum sum so far would be 4, which
Good
occurred
morning,
many
Sunshine.
times, right? So this is how we calculate the maximum sum. So now since we know how to, we can at this point calculate the maximum sum.
I love
So we know
you.
how to figure out the maximum sum in the whole array, but that's not the only thing that we need to know. We need to print the subarray as well. So if we are iterating through the array, so at any given instant of all the subarrays that we have been through, we need the information of the starting point and the ending point of the subarrays that we have came across, right? So we will take for these many variables. We will take a variable called start, a variable called end, a variable called temporary start, maximum length, sum, and max sum. Maximum length would be, so at any index I, suppose we are at this particular index, so we must have come across this subarray before,
I love you.
because if we are now here we must have come across this. So we somehow need to know this would be our start, this would be our end, and the maximum length would be 3. So we need, this would be our max length. So we need these three values. At If I am at this index, then I should know all these three values so that I can compare if this possible subarray is our answer. Because at certain point I would reach at this index, and at this point I need to compare whether this is my answer, this subarray, or the one before. Because over here we again come across the sum was 4, because previously we also had the sum 4, and we also come across the sum 4, but we have the length greater than the previous one. So this would be our answer. So we need to know about these values. So how do we know about these values? The question is, when do we need to mm, make our maximum sum as sum? So at every given positive number, that suppose we are iterating the array from the start and we come across a positive number, if it is a positive number, then definitely the sum, if it is a positive number and we are calculating the sum, so at any instant we come across sum is greater than our maximum sum, so instantly, that subarray becomes our answer, because the first condition was to find the subarray with the maximum sum, right? So this is the number one condition. And the second condition is if we come across a certain sum which is the maximum that we found so far, and the length of the current subarray is becomes more than the previous subarray. So like this is the same example. The sum till here was 4, but the sum again here was 4, which is the maximum, but the length now is 4, which is more than 3. So we know this is our answer, right? So we have two conditions. This is of condition 1. The condition 2 would be if sum is equals to maxsum and our current length should be greater than max length. This is our condition 2. So how do we calculate the max length and the current length? While iterating through this subarray, we can at any point we can just simply say the max length as at any point the condition 1 is fulfilled. We will just say if we are at an index I, then the max length would be, but even before that, as soon as we enter a subarray, we will have this variable temporary start. So this the starting of any subarray would be the temporary start. As soon as we enter a positive block of subarray, we will mark the first occurrence of this number as temporary start. Okay, and then if we are at an index I, we will just keep updating our maximum length as I minus temporary start temp start plus 1 as our max length. Okay, so if we're while iterating at every instant, at every index, we will keep updating our maximum length. This maximum length is I minus temporary start plus 1. What is the temporary start? Whenever we come across subarray, the starting point of that subarray would be our temporary start, and we will keep updating the max length, and we have the temporary start, and while we are iterating at every index, we will also keep updating the end value of that subarray. We will just say end is equals to I. So when we come across -1, by this time we have stored two values, which is the start and the end and the maximum length as well, right? And after -1 we have another subarray which is starting from 0. So now 0 becomes our next temporary start. Now this would be our next temporary start. So as soon as we come across a negative number, we would just say the next number to it will be the temporary start. We will just simply assume that if it is a negative number again, the next of that would be the temporary start. So eventually we will come across a positive number, so that the starting of which becomes this temporary start, right? And at every index we will also update the start value as temporary start value, because the temporary start value will change at this point, but the start value would be the answer till this point. I hope things make sense. It will make more sense when you see the code. So let's jump right into the code. Yes. So here is the code. I have taken these variables sum, I've taken maximum sum, I've taken max length. Let me change the color
Good
once.
morning, Sunshine.
Yeah, I've taken maximum length. I've taken start, temporary start, end. And now I'm iterating the array for I is equals to less than n. If the number is positive, I just say the sum is ai. And if sum is greater than max sum, or sum is equals to max sum, and I minus temporary start plus 1, which is our current length of the subarray, is greater than the maximum length. What is maximum length? Maximum length is the length of the subarray that we came across before coming at this point I. Right? So now if this condition holds true, the max sum becomes sum, the start becomes temporary start, end becomes I, and the maximum length becomes I minus temporary start plus 1. Otherwise, if the number is negative, we just say the sum is 0, or the temporary start becomes I plus 1. And finally, since we know start and end, we just iterate through start end and we just return the answer. I hope things make sense. Uh, Best would be to try to dry run this code on your own with certain examples, and then things would make more sense. Thank you.